Hello. My guest today needs no introduction. All my guests are special, but my today's guest is actually India's true policy maker. He has defined India and set so many different policies, tasks, and guidelines in which the framework of this country should be defined. He is the one and only Mr. Amitabh Kant. Hello, nice to see you. My first meeting with you, of course, was at the gym. And besides being the policy maker, I think you also look after your fitness really well. And you also look after your sports and your personal activities. So how do you really balance everything?
Well, I believe in stressing out. I believe in keeping fit.
Yeah.
And it's very important to actually stress out a lot so that, and stress out and sweat out because that keeps you going for the next 24 hours. And that's critical. It keeps your mind alert, it keeps your body alert, it keeps you active. And also, it's as you, it's very critical that you have good food habits. So eat less, that's important.
Do you eat early?
Well, I eat, I don't eat after 6:30 in the evening.
Oh wow, no wonder.
Yeah.
Yes. No, because I have seen that you balance your life very well. You have such big tasks and assignments and very challenging deadlines. And still I've seen that you keep your fitness as a priority. I think you play golf a lot. And you also, are there any other sports and other activities you enjoy?
I do several things. I play a number of sports, but these days I've taken to golf and I play golf on thrice a week.
Okay. So that's, and what are the other sports you like and you enjoy?
Well, I enjoy tennis, I play badminton, and I like cricket. So
did you play all these in school?
I did play a lot in school and college.
Okay. And what are your other hobbies that you enjoy? I believe you've written a lot of books and they're very popular.
Well, I read a lot. I read, and I believe that I should, based on my experiences and whatever I've gained while working, I should put it down in writing. So I've written 5 books.
Yes.
And I will continue to keep writing and reading, and that's important. And I do a lot of gardening at home.
Oh, okay.
So, I really feel that it's very important to keep abreast of a range of technological developments that are happening. A huge amount of disruption is happening.
Yes.
There are large number of innovative things happening in the countries, in the startup movement, deep tech movement, which I try and keep abreast of. And I try and keep pace with a range of developments that take place in the country.
So what are the new fields you feel that are the new that everyone should focus on now, or the upcoming current where the startups should focus, and which sectors they should look into?
Well, there's a lot of disruption happening in a range of areas, and, especially deep tech. If India is to grow at rapid rates, then electric mobility, battery storage, quantum computing, solar energy, green hydrogen, all these are huge areas of growth in the future. And for India to grow rapidly and grow with jobs, I think there are areas like tourism, for instance, which will create a huge number of jobs, particularly for women.
Yes.
And that's a sector which needs to be tapped in a very big way.
And it's close to your heart.
Well, it's close to my heart. Many sectors are close to my heart, but tourism
That's what we're going to discuss today. What are your top picks out of all the sectors? And that's what the youth should see, I think, or as a mentor and as a guide, and as I've personally experienced the depth of it. One thing is looking at something on the surface, and one thing is analyzing and seeing the pluses and the minuses of each of the sectors, is what I'm going to ask you, or to guide all the youth who are going to watch this show today, and then take it forward. But as you said, tourism. Tourism is, you were the first person who started the campaign and promoted tourism, and in the Incredible India campaign. You also promoted Kerala tourism a lot. You also promoted God's own country. And truly, India is God's own country. It's not only Kerala, because today every state has its own heritage, culture, every state has its own handicrafts, every state has its own skilled labor, and even the youth. I've noticed in every state they're coming up with different spheres where they are focusing on. For example, I've seen in my own setup, we have an interior and online space. I've seen a lot of the tech people are coming from states like Uttarakhand or Bihar, and that's very surprising that those states are churning out the maximum number of employees in these sectors. So where do you feel in tourism, how, if your vision for tourism in the next 20 years for India would be, how would you reach out and how would you position India?
Yeah. So I got quite accidentally into tourism. It was a punishment posting for me. I was without a job for many months,
Punishment posting?
Yeah, it was, nobody
Anyone
had heard of...
had the guts to punish you?
Yeah. I was without a posting for about 10 months. I'd run foul of the communist government in Kerala. And actually nobody had heard of Kerala at that point of time. People used to travel to Rajasthan or Kashmir.
Right.
And when I was posted there, my job really was that to create a brand entity of Kerala which is very distinct from any other destination in the world. So I went back to the roots of Kerala. I did not copy the West, or I did not copy any other destination. I went back to the traditional architecture of Kerala, which is the Nalkattam houses. Their houses were then being sold as firewood, which we restored. We went back to the traditional martial art of Kerala, Kalripettam, and brought it back center stage. We brought back the traditional Kerala arts, Kathakali and Mohiniyattam, and we brought back the traditional Kerala cuisine, much of which is very popular now.
Yes.
All this, nobody had heard of appam and stew.
Yes.
And we brought Ayurveda center stage in Kerala.
Right.
And we moved away from the Kovalam beach into the backwaters of Kerala. We brought backwaters and restored the houseboats on which not a single nail is used. The carpenters had all gone away to Gulf. We brought them back. And these were the traditional rice boats of Kerala, which we restored. True. So my view always has been that actually if you want to build tourism, you have to create a unique value proposition which is based on your strength.
Yes.
So Kerala was able to do it, and then we worked with the private sector to create the God's own country brand, which was very distinct from anyone else.
Yes.
And I really feel that is a huge potential in many states of India.
Yes.
From Madhya Pradesh, which is very rich, to Karnataka, which has tremendous potential, to Tamil Nadu, to Bihar, to Jharkhand, to Chhattisgarh. All of them have massive unique products of tourism.
Yes.
But every state then starts copying either the West or starts copying other states. They have to create their own distinct brand.
Yes.
And that can be a very big multiplier in terms of growth and jobs for these states.
Right.
The states have not really realized the unique value proposition which tourism can bring, and the political and the administrative will to create great state brands in India.
Yes.
So Incredible India can be the mother brand, but you need 20 odd different state brands. And all these state brands, because India is a very large country, it's bigger than 25 countries of Europe.
Yes.
Actually, all these states can be huge brands in the global market.
In their own independent way.
Absolutely.
This interesting thing about our country is that it's so diverse, and it also has so much culture and heritage, and that's what is our strength. And that strength was always considered earlier, it wasn't positioned well. And someone like you has positioned it that people today notice it to some level. Of course, we have to take it forward even much more now. And there is so much. How do you think that you can generate employment through tourism and enhancing the culture and heritage? Two, would you showcase India as more in these individual states where tourism can be developed, like besides Rajasthan and besides like Goa, as everyone talks, it's the beach destination of India or the holiday destination. Kerala could be the second Goa probably. I mean, that's the way I would see it, and more cleaner, neater, more infrastructure driven. Because so how would you, in your view, like to position and bifurcate which way it should be positioned?
Yeah, so my view is Kerala should never be the second Goa.
Okay, it should be.
Kerala is very distinct because it has backwaters, it has wildlife, it has mountains, it has it has very distinct products. It also has beaches, but it has many other products which Goa doesn't have. So Goa is really a beach destination, whereas Kerala is very rich in culture, art, backwaters, heritage, Ayurveda. Those are unique characteristics of Kerala, and Kerala should be very, very distinct.
Yes.
And similarly, other states have the potential to be very distinct. That's why I'm saying that no one should ape Goa, or no one should ape Rajasthan, or no one should ape the West. They should create their own brand identity based on their inherent strength. That's important. And if every state does that, you'll actually end up creating unique products in this country, and you'll create a vast number of jobs. So you need 20 brands to blossom in India. That's critical.
So that is as far as tourism is concerned. Also, the government as well as everyone today can see weddings have become like so huge. And are we planning going to have India being positioned as a wedding destination? Or also a few years back it was very popular to be known, make India as a medical destination for, having people having their surgeries and all their, checkups and all their, detailed medicines and everything taken care here. So are we going to look at these two sectors in a very big way in the future?
So I was in Kashmir recently. I was quite surprised that actually many North Indian weddings were being held in Kashmir.
Yes.
So Rajasthan is a great wedding destination. Goa is a great wedding destination.
Yes.
So weddings actually happen, and the Prime Minister said that Indians should not get married abroad.
Yes.
All weddings should happen in India.
Yeah.
And weddings are a huge multiplier impact in India, because Indian weddings are very large, they're very gorgeous, they're very
creative.
They're unique in many ways, in terms of clothing, in terms of handicraft, handloom, many the gift element is enormous.
Yes.
Plus, they are large in size and scale. There's huge music involved. So, the sense of drama in Indian wedding doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yes,
and that's why Indians getting married in India is a great proposition, and that will really give a big boost to tourism in India.
So are there any are there any incentives that are being provided as of now?
So my view on this is that incentives are not necessary.
Okay.
In India, there are very good infrastructure available right now. There are very good convention facilities. India has a very good meetings and centers convention.
Yes.
We lacked great convention centers, but now with Yashobhumi here and Bharat Mandapam, we've created great convention centers.
Yes.
So actually they should be used for international meetings in a very big way. They should be
right.
used to do a lot of more conventions, a lot of more exhibitions.
Yes.
And for weddings, I think every state is encouraging weddings to be held.
Yes.
So I think every state can be tapped for that.
I think in fact all hotels and hotel chains have changed their branding and positioning to wedding destinations and are looking at that as a big business as compared to just selling their rooms.
Yeah.
So, and also the statistics say that in the next 3-4 years the hotels and the real estate industry is going to have a big boom because of
the hotels are already booming thanks to G20.
Yes.
There are no rooms available. All hotels are full.
Yes.
Actually, India needs many more hotels in the coming years. Because the great thing that has happened as a consequence of COVID was that Indians started traveling domestically.
Yes.
They started looking at the domestic market. So Indians started traveling to
all the second cities and other places.
So the North Indians started traveling to South India, and the South Indians started traveling to West India. And the great thing is that India has created a number of great hotels in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. New venues have been opened up. New destinations have opened up. And this is a massive opportunity for Indians to discover India rather than traveling to Thailand or Malaysia. So that's what's happening.
In fact, I went to London just last week and I found that the number of Indians there were only 1/4 as what they were normally. And when I called a lot of my friends and asked them, where did you go? They went to places within India and they said, oh, we'll go later, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So that was actually a big mind shift with, because otherwise it was always travel to either the US or to Europe or during the summer. And now to a large extent, I would say the upper middle class or the rich or the nouveau riche or the elite have also actually discovered India.
Absolutely.
And you're right totally when you're saying that was a blessing in disguise.
No, and great destinations have opened up. I mean, you go to Kevadia. I don't know whether you've been to Kevadia in Gujarat.
No.
It's a great tourism destination
I'd
which
love
has
to
opened
go
up.
there. Yes.
If you go to Kutch, which I've done, a great tourism destination.
Yeah.
Or if you go to Hampi, where we did one of the G20 meetings, it's a phenomenal destination. So these are destinations which Indians are discovering in a very big way.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you another thing. You also have been involved in a lot of policy making over the years, not necessarily only in this government, but since in your entire career. So which are the main policies actually made by Amitabh Kant, the one and only, and that's the purpose of having you here, because you actually drafted them, structured it and executed them. So can you tell me and tell everyone what are the main big policies over your entire career, not just the latest famous ones?
No, I don't make policies in isolation. I don't make them alone.
Yes.
They're part of.
But you give the suggestion.
Well, I work with many other people to draft policies, and I think I've played a key role in drafting some of these policies. And for instance, the Startup India policy framework was we worked on, and when we did this under Prime Minister's direction, India had only about 156 startups. Today we have about 140,000 startups. We have over 140 unicorns in India. So it is a good policy design, a good policy framework is very critical. Or for instance, when the Prime Minister asked us to, and I was Secretary, Department of Industrial Policy at that time, to actually dismantle the number of rules, regulation, procedures which we had built up. So India has actually scrapped over 1,700 laws. Rather than making too many policies, we've used the state instrument to do away with a number of procedures, regulation and laws that were drafted during the socialist era of this country. We made India easy and simple, which was very important at that time. But I've worked on a range of other implementations, like aspirational district program, which covered some of the most backward districts of India.
See, and transformed. Very few people know about it.
So aspirational district was that you may not have heard of some of these districts. Have you heard of a district called Kifre in Nagaland or Riboi in Meghalaya? Many of your viewers would not have heard.
Yes.
So these are 115 districts of India which were transformed through this program on their outcomes, on education, on health, on nutrition.
And this was done in which phase of your career?
This was when I was CEO Niti AOG.
Okay, yes, I'm going to come to that a little later, yes.
So, I mean, transformational work has been done in many areas. This country has seen some very major structural reforms. The goods and services tax, the IBC being brought in, the Real Estate Regulation Act, making India easy. This country has seen a huge amount of infrastructure creation as a consequence of good policy framework. This country has seen a huge switch from fossil fuel to green energy as a consequence of policy framework.
Right.
So I think a lot of work has happened in this country, but I think the most important thing that has happened is the digitization. Everyone has a digital identity, everybody uses the mobile to do fast payments.
Yes.
And we do about 46% of the real-time fast payments in the world. So India
That's also because of our population, I guess.
Yeah. But I think the fact that we were able to provide identity, we were able to open bank accounts. Between 2015 and 2017, we opened about 515 million bank accounts. Every second bank account opened opened in the world was opened in India. And then we linked up Aadhaar and mobile with the bank account, which enabled everybody to do this. So if you look at the world, 4 billion people do not even have a bank account. So India is technologically leapfrogged in a very big way.
So, was this one of your ideas or suggestion, and then of course the collective team put it together to put the increase the digitalization and the UPI methods and all the banking structures?
Oh, it was the Prime Minister's vision, and many of us were involved in implementation. But
Okay.
it was the Prime Minister's vision that we should use technology to leapfrog, and so has been the fact that the Prime Minister has driven the opening up of the geospatial sector, the space sector, the drone sector. Many of these sectors have opened up so that private sector and young startups can play a very critical role.
You spoke a little while back on how the startups, you eliminated 1700 policies or things which would make it easy for them to apply for startup funding. Now, can you just say a few which you really feel, how many steps are there for a startup to enroll or to get somewhere or reach at some level?
The startups do not require any approval at all unless they are claiming a tax benefit. Then they need to register with DPIIT. But otherwise, startups can just go ahead and do their work. They've been exempted from labor laws, etc. So India has made it very easy and simple for startups to grow, flourish. Also, we had made it very easy for them to attract capital. I think international capital has slowed down. So India needs to now create a momentum for more domestic money to flow into these startups.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think the startup movement has been very easy and simple in India.
So they can easily go and without a collateral or anything, they can get a loan and funding for their
So
project?
there's a Mudra scheme which enables without collateral to get lending, and that has led to a number of young people starting their own business enterprises.
Okay.
So those are lendings without collaterals.
Okay, so that is one aspect of it. And another topic and another sector which I feel has grown and has yet a lot more to grow, and what are your insights and the policies that you've making, are the infrastructure sector. So how do you feel, what are the changes from maybe the last 15-20 years coming to, and what are the future, the way we look at increasing our infrastructure in the country? In which, would there be more roads, would there be more airports, ports? How are we positioning ourselves in that sphere?
So I think a lot has been done in the last 8 years. We made about 40 million houses, which is like...
Houses?
Yeah, 40 million houses is like making one Australia within India. We've provided, close to about 120 million toilets, which is like providing every citizen of Germany a toilet. And we've provided piped water connection to 253 million Indians.
Right.
Which is like providing piped water connection to everybody in Brazil.
Yes.
That's the size and scale of what India has done. But India has also made in the last decade close to 88,000 kilometers of road. 88,000 kilometers of road is like 5 times the diameter of Earth. That's the size and scale of what India has done, in addition to making new airports, new ports, many other things. But the size and scale of the infrastructure created in India, and really good quality infrastructure, we are, to my mind, way ahead of Europe in many ways in terms of infrastructure creation.
I believe there are a lot of infrastructure companies which are also doing a lot of projects overseas now, the Indian infrastructure companies.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because of the quality of the quality of work and the quality of product they are delivering now.
So Indian companies are now increasingly going outside and working, and that's how it should be. The ambition of Indian companies should be to go and export, to be the world's best. They should go and do project execution abroad. They should do actually top-class execution abroad. That's important.
Right.
They should use domestic market as a springboard for exports.
But it's not easy then if they start doing infrastructure infrastructure projects overseas, then a lot of labor and a lot of other skills go out from our country, go overseas.
Yeah.
And there's a risk of that time losing some of your skilled labor to do your domestic work.
No, I don't think you need to worry about it. India will be providing 30% of the skilled manpower to the world. India will be providing construction workers, electricians, AI engineers, nurses all over the world. I mean, India has the strength to do that. No other country in the world will have the trained manpower. So we should skill our people, allow them to fly to any part of the world, not merely look at the domestic market. So by 2030, I envisage that actually 20 to 25% of the skilled manpower in many countries of the world, Europe, there will be no engineers left. Their population is aging. The United States population is aging. India has a very young demographics. Our average age is just 29.
Yes.
So Indians will work all over the world. I mean, that's the strength of India. And by 2047, Indians will be all over the world. All the top hotels will be run and managed by Indians, from Ritz-Carlton to Four Seasons. Indians will be operating and running these hotels. They will not be the Swiss-trained people. There will be no people in Europe and America. No trained manpower.
Is it because of the population?
Or? Yeah. It's the population in all these countries, from Japan to USA to Europe, is all aging. They're all high dependency burdens, whereas in India there's low dependency. There's all young population. So this is the age and time for India. And rarely has a country not created wealth when it has young population.
So you've been at the right place at the right time and with the right intellect. That's why it's one of your success mantras, I feel.
Well, I don't know about intellect, but
everybody says
I
you're
really
one of the
think
most
that I'm
intelligent people and policy makers, and everyone says future politician in this country.
Well, I don't know. I'm about intellect. I don't know, but in India, I think I'm at the right time and right place.
Yes.
Because I strongly believe that this is India's decade, and this is also going to be India's century. So this is an opportune time to be an Indian, and I'm very proud and I'm very optimistic about being an Indian.
Yes.
And I think this is truly an opportunity for Indians to tap. And there's massive, growth and prosperity that we can bring for Indians by just being positive, by being optimistic, and by getting into the right sectors of growth.
Yeah. And of course, you had an amazing journey being the CEO of the Niti Aayog. What were the policies, or what kind of projects did you execute and implement at that time?
So, well, several. I think I was at the helm of Niti Aayog for almost 7 years, which to my mind was a little too long. So I had a 7-year innings, and during a period.
7-year innings or 7-year age?
It's 7-year age, you can call it.
Okay.
And during that period, a lot of work was done in a range of areas. And if you look at it, this whole shift towards electric mobility was driven. The aspirational district program was driven by us. The shift towards cleaner energy was driven by Niti Aayog, and the production linked incentive for manufacturing was driven by us. So a whole range of new areas of growth. If you look at what has happened as a consequence of PLI, the Samsung, the Apple, or the world all manufacturing here, is a consequence of all good policy initiatives which the Prime Minister drove as chairman of Niti Aayog, but his vision in terms of driving growth and prosperity for Indians was what we worked with.
But can you just highlight a few specific, the important ones which you feel which really contributed or will contribute to the future on the growth? Any particular sector or any particular project you did at that time which you feel?
Oh, well, there were several.
Several, obviously, in 7 years there were.
So to my mind, the Startup India movement was a very strong one.
Okay.
To my mind, the Make in India movement for driving manufacturing has been a very critical one. To my mind, the aspirational district program to improve,
which you just mentioned,
to improve prosperity of almost 22% of our population was very critical. It transformed the lives of citizens, which is very important. To my mind, the constitution of a new medical commission was very important. To my mind, the new education policy which the government has brought out is very critical. To my mind, the primary health centers which the government started and the opening up of the national Ayushman Bharat scheme, which has provided insurance to 500 million Indians. I mean, 500 million Indians means that you have insured twice the population of United States of America and India.
Right.
Such a vast scheme for health insurance doesn't exist anywhere in the world, which India has done.
Right, right. You mentioned Make in India. So in Make in India, what are the benefits or what are the incentives or what the SOPs the manufacturers can get today?
So the important thing on Make in India was, firstly, there were too many rules, regulations, procedures which made it easy. Secondly, we opened up the foreign direct investment regime in a very big way. And to my mind, thirdly, the patent and the trademark regime, all those were eased up in a big way. I'm not a great one for giving SOPs and subsidies.
Yes, you mentioned that.
I believe in size and scale of manufacturing. Subsidies never work in the long run. So if you do scale of manufacturing, you'll be able to bring down costs.
Right.
You'll be able to export. You'll be able to penetrate global markets.
Yes.
So our objective was to get large companies to manufacture in India and build up a very strong, buoyant MSME sector in India, a lot of which has happened now.
No, but a lot of, when you say Make in India, again you need a lot of skilled labor, you need a lot of machinery. As you are aware, I'm an architect and interior designer, and when I do in my sector, when I see, I feel a lot of either the labor is not very skilled, they are skilled but not very skilled, and the second is machinery, which they need, and for machinery they need a lot of capital. So have those three sectors, those 3 points or sub-sectors been addressed?
So India has done a lot of skilling.
Yes.
A massive amount of skilling with the formation of the new Ministry for Skill Development.
Yes.
One of the challenges we've seen is that the private sector is not willing to pay a higher wage rate for skilled manpower.
Yes.
Vis-a-vis the unskilled manpower.
That's true. That's true.
And that's a very major lacuna. The government also brought in the apprenticeship scheme so that we could create a lot of more apprenticeship. And thirdly, I think the new education policy, which envisages that actually everybody need not go into higher education. You should actually ensure that people get into skilling. People can become great electricians, people can become great carpenters, people can get into skilled workforce and then grow in that category. They need not go into college education at all.
Yes.
So these are completely new areas of growth for us.
Yes, and now I believe the role of the skill development industry ministry, has really increased, and they're offering a lot of more packages and training programs to a lot of people. Yes.
So there's been a restructuring of ITIs. There's been a working in partnership with the private sector. The national skill development corporations come in. You have predefined qualifications for skilling.
Right.
The skilling councils have upgraded the content so they are on par with the internationally best skilling content. A lot of work has happened actually.
Yes. Of course, now I'm going to come to one of the biggest and latest feathers in your cap, that is the G20 Summit. It was a huge task, one of the most important and of course a very prestigious project task for the country and the government. And of course the confidence was by the entire government, everyone had placed in you, and you came up with flying colors. But can you tell me how difficult was it to interact with the countries, the different delegations, and how did you actually put your point across and the government's point across and get the maximum benefit for our country?
So let me first say that G20 was very critical and important for India, and the Prime Minister had said that our G20 must be inclusive, it must be ambitious, it must be very action oriented and decisive. So there are two components to G20. One was the way it was executed. It was very different from any other countries where G20 is normally held in 1 or 2 cities. In India, the Prime Minister said that he wants to host it in every state and union territory of India. So we've done close to about 60 different cities over 220 odd meetings, which is huge infrastructure was created. Many of these cities were cleaned up in terms of drainage, sewage, solid waste.
Because all the guests were going there.
Roads, etc. So this was also used as an opportunity to improve the infrastructure in these areas. We also use this opportunity to spread local culture, art forms, to do the local gifts, one district, one product. So all the states were used to, and union territories were used to promote them in a very big way. Not merely in terms of the art, culture, but also improve infrastructure. That's one component.
Yeah.
The second component was to, this was the post-COVID era, this was the peak of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yes.
And the challenge in a multilateral organization is to bring everybody together and bring consensus. In multilateral organizations without consensus, there's no success. So to bring consensus on all key and critical issues confronting the world, from balanced, sustainable, inclusive growth to the acceleration of sustainable development goals, to women-led development, to technological transformation, reform of the multilateral reform institutions, and the Green Development Pact, only India was able to bring consensus on all these key issues. And India was able to do this by bringing G7 countries, the emerging markets, Russia, China, all together. So I think it was a success of very huge proportions. This could happen because there was the leadership of the Prime Minister, his stature, his standing was critical. And we were able to bring everyone together thanks to that.
So did you start working on this from the year before we officially were handed over the G20 the summit and everything?
So G20 you get about a year
to work.
And I was made Sherpa at the beginning of that. So I had to work the whole year. It's like 5 years of work put into one. So 5.5 years of work.
That's why my first question was about your energy and your fitness level. And that now anyone would have thought, why is the first question that? But I know it's what you're doing, you're executing it. One thing is making a policy, but you're doing policy plus execution. So that's why I know that it requires a lot of energy. And
so it was very tough. It was very exacting, but it also gives you a great sense of satisfaction.
Yes, and I think you made India proud because the way you positioned yourself, the way you negotiated, and I feel we are in a position today that we don't need to compromise to any country. We can put our our terms forward and get pretty much most of them, if not all. And but you also needed someone, I would say more than but it could have been the Congress government or the BJP or anybody else. It was more the person who was the CEO, who was meeting the people daily, day in and day out, and convincing them of what we wanted. So that's why I feel that you played personally a very large role in the success.
I think it was the Prime Minister's leadership.
See, that's very nice of you to say that all. But the truth is, when you go every day and you have to have, even if in a business, any businessman or any industrialist who's hearing this interview will obviously see that he knows that how many levels and layers of meetings are required to reach and sign the final deal. So obviously you personally went, and that to a large extent was your personal success also and your contribution to this nation also. And that's why I think you earned that respect from pretty much everybody across the board.
I was really the Sherpa to the Prime Minister. Sherpa's job is, to put it very mildly, is to take the leader. It's a leadership summit. The leaders from all over the countries assembled together. They're all represented by their Sherpas. They do the spade work, and the job of the Indian Sherpa during the year when we are hosting the G20 is to take his leader on top of the summit. And that is on top of the Mount Everest. So I'm glad that I could work and take my leader on top of the Mount Everest. That's what gives me the satisfaction.
And it was really appreciated again, not only because of, as I said, it's about the deals and about what you get, more the economic side of it than just the infrastructure or the mandapa. And I think that's where you really...
So we got consensus across the board on all 212 outcomes, 83 paras. To get that kind of consensus, be very ambitious. We were very, very ambitious to get everybody to agree on a Green Development Pact. Or to get everyone to agree on that the digital public infrastructure which India has built up is the way forward for the rest of the world were very big achievements.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about which was the most difficult country to deal with?
Well, every country was, it's
Tough.
not easy.
It's not easy. That's why I said
It's not easy. The Russia-Ukraine para took us 300 hours of negotiation, one para.
Okay.
300, every word, every letter, 300 hours of negotiation. We had about 350 bilateral, 16 drafts failed. The 17th one succeeded. So it was nerve-wracking, but we succeeded.
And on the economic front, which country was the most difficult to get the best deal out?
Well, I wouldn't like to name specific countries, but the challenge is to get, different countries have different perspectives. You have to need to bring everybody together, bring them to a common point, to be able to bring G7. There are some emerging markets. The great thing about G20 is that it's a collection of very advanced countries. It comprises of the G7, it comprises of Russia, China, all emerging markets. To get everybody together on board on a draft, which is very ambitious, and push for it. And what India achieved then became the success, because the COP meeting on climate change, which was held subsequently, was a success because of what India had achieved in G20. What we had achieved in G20 became a success for the UN meeting on sustainable development goals. It became a success because of what the transformation which IMF and World Bank require. It became a success because of technological transformation which the world needs. So in many, many areas, India's G20 was a success story for other institutions as well.
Climate change is a big issue now, and it's actually hitting all of us. And as you saw, the summer in Delhi, in Bombay this year was like a nightmare. And I'm sure there's also going to be a lot of different, weather change and, unprecedented natural calamities which are going to come. So one is making a policy, but can the human, or can all of us humans actually control it anymore? Or has that gone beyond our control? Honestly.
So 2023 was the hottest year in the history,
Yes.
in the last 173 years,
Yes.
since temperatures have been recorded.
Yes.
2024 will be even worse. So the 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is to be crossed between 2030 and 2052, it's already been crossed. We are heading for 2 degrees centigrade and probably 3 degrees centigrade if the NDC
That's scary.
Target. So it'll lead to coastal cities being destroyed, it'll lead to huge heat waves, it'll lead to loss of jobs. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to really work like India is doing, to work towards green energy. We have done about 200 gigawatts of renewable energy. We are working on a circular economy. We are working for green hydrogen. Though we've not polluted the world, our per capita consumption has been much less. Our use of greenhouse gas emission is very little, just 1.3%. Whereas on a population basis, we are entitled to 17.5%. But India wants to be the first country in the world to industrialize and urbanize without carbonizing the world. So we've taken a lot of initiatives. It's the developed world which has polluted the world, and they need to actually get their act
But
together.
what will happen? I mean, yes, they have done it and we have done a little less, or we are slightly better. But has it gone out of control? Because the way I see it, that very soon it'll be better to have basements than have ground floors first floors at the rate we are going.
Every country is now committed to their NDC targets, which they need to live up to.
Right.
They need to accelerate the pace of implementation so that we are able to come back to 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050. That should be the goal and that should be the ambition, but every country needs to work towards it. Secondly, as the Prime Minister said, there has to be a movement for lifestyle, for environment, so that individuals make a difference, not merely countries. We keep our taps open, we keep our electricity open. All this is very critical, that human behavior must change. Must change for a better. You go to New York, all the lights are on, we're burning fossil fuel. So individual human behavior, what is known as nudging, we must be able to nudge people to change. That is critical.
Since you've been so detailed and involved in policy, water is another problem coming up. And it's not only in a particular state, it's in the country and maybe the rest of the world also following. And as you said, we need to improve our behavior and how we control things. So yes, from now onwards, people are becoming aware because situation is getting out of hand. But do we have still time to control it, or have we missed the boat?
No,
in short.
So water we do 90% of our consumption in agriculture because we don't charge adequately. We need to charge for water.
So that's what people now.
Secondly, we need to recycle water in a big way. Every drop of water needs to be recycled. Thirdly, I think every drop of rainwater needs to be conserved and preserved. And that also needs to be recycled for tomorrow's world. This is critical. Behavior, human attitude, behavior must change and therefore, I think to my mind, we need to price water effectively so that overconsumption doesn't take place. So I'm not a great one for providing free water to everyone.
People only value it once you charge it. So it's actually, it may be a tough decision, but probably in the long run it's the right one. Yes. So the share price of all the water companies is going to go up very soon.
No, I don't think we need to look at it from that perspective. We need to look at it from the fact that we need to ensure that water availability. After all, we have 17% of the world's population, but we have only 4% of the water resources. And therefore, to be able to provide water to every citizen of India, we need to ensure that the source of water is constantly rejuvenated. That's number one. Number two, wherever we are doing overconsumption, like we are doing there is a need for great extension, mass communication, making people aware.
Okay, moving away from this, you've been an IAS officer, you've worked with the Congress, at their time with the BJP. What is the difference in the style of functioning? Both are good because you did well in both their times. So what is the difference in the style of functioning? Because I know it's you who worked and you've done whatever you have structured in your career, and that's why, as I said, me and others respect you for that. But what is their style of functioning? Both are good. No one's good or bad in this world, or no process. So what is the difference in style?
So, I've worked with both,
yes.
Not merely the Congress and this, I've also worked with the communists in
Yes,
Kerala.
That's right, in Kerala.
So my experience on this has been that, and I'm a great believer in free markets, I'm a great believer in private sector. I believe that the government's job is to facilitate and support private sector to grow. The wealth creation must happen. Whereas the job of government is to focus on education, health, nutrition. So what I've seen is that in the last decade, the present government has not merely got the policies right, but has put a lot of focus on implementation on ground, which is very critical. So they've laid a huge focus on implementation and implementation. They've also, my view is that on the policy framework to, provide a huge focus on infrastructure creation and taking the capex spend of the government as a part of GDP from 1% to 4% is a very good policy framework. So I think in the last decade, we've lifted a vast segment of our population above poverty line. It's been good to work with the Prime Minister, who's very decisive.
And in the previous government, what was the USP of their policy? I think there was Manmohan Singh ji, who was
I don't want to comment on a Prime Minister. And I had not worked so closely with him, but I'd worked with different ministers. But I would say that the present government has been very, very decisive in terms of implementation.
Okay. And of course, now I'm going to ask you some things on your personal life. At what age did you get married?
I got married when I was, I think, about 26 or 27.
And I'm sure your wife always complains because you're always so busy and you must be hardly getting any time with her. Because one side you want to look after your fitness and next side your work. And next side, third is you execute all the policies you make.
No, I spend a lot of time with her. I really
Really?
Yeah.
Then we all need to learn time management from you then. So tell me, how did you meet her? Was it an arranged marriage? Was it a love marriage?
No, my family knew their family and
Okay.
met in Delhi. I knew her from before.
All right. So you knew her from before?
Yeah.
Oh, so basically it was kind of like a love marriage, is it?
Well, we knew each other, so from before.
You can say on camera, it doesn't
No,
matter.
so if the families knew, we knew the families,
Okay.
and therefore.
And she's also from Kerala?
No, she's not from Kerala. I'm also not from Kerala. I'm from North India.
Yeah.
She's also from North India.
Okay. So, and you just met and in school or college, is it?
Post-university.
Post-university, okay. And you've been married now how many years?
For many years.
Okay. So you want to hide your age, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you have, I think, 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So, and what do your daughters do?
Well, my elder daughter is, both my daughters have graduated from Oxford. The elder one has done an MBA from Wharton and is now, she works for BCG in Netherlands right now. And she's married and her husband is a doctor and is a PhD in cybersecurity from Fletcher.
Okay.
And the younger one is also from Oxford. She's a Schwarzman scholar. She works on climate and health.
Well, intellect had to run down. I mean, all the genes, I'm sure they come from, we know where they comes from. But I think the path again they've chosen is climate change because that's something for the future. And I'm sure that's with your guidance.
No, they don't listen to me. They do their own things. They both have their own minds.
Okay.
Yeah,
And they don't want to come back here now, sooner or later?
No, they both want to come back and work in India at some point of time. They both will be in India. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And are you going to let them do something in the private sector or bring them?
No, they don't listen to me. They decide what they want to do. I mean,
Well, I guess all their lives they've
Yeah.
seen you working so hard and achieving all of this, so they've picked up some typical topics where they feel which would be the future and
yeah, they have all the freedom to do whatever
what they want to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And what do you see yourself doing after you retire?
Well, I just want to.
I don't find you retiring anywhere in the
I
near
want to just
future.
read, write. I want to do gardening and
That's
I
so
want to play.
boring
And
for
I want
someone
to play
who's
golf.
had so much energy.
Yeah. No, I know how to keep myself busy.
No, that I'm sure
And
you
I'll probably mentor some startups.
do. Mentor startups. That's good.
Yeah.
And but mentor startups in India, obviously.
Anywhere, all over the world, including India.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And how do you like? Do you like going out? Do you like partying?
Well, I don't do parties now.
But you are very popular.
No, I don't-
Socially, everybody knows you.
No, I
Everybody
don't
loves
go out
you.
now.
Why?
I've stopped it all. I've done it all. So I don't go now outside because I want to sleep
But there's
early.
nothing wrong. It doesn't give going out and having a meal with friends.
Now, what happens is that I've taken a call that I won't eat beyond 6:30. Delhi, nobody wants to serve dinner before 9:30, 10, 11, 12 in the night. I mean, it's very difficult for me. So I believe in eating at home and I want to finish at 6:30 and I want to get up early morning. And I've now decided that it's very important to get up by 5 o'clock in the morning, do exercise.
Well, I was seeing a YouTube interview and someone said all those who get up at 5 are the most successful people. I didn't understand the logic why. And then I went to Bombay. I met a lot of big industrialists who are my friends, and I realized that they all do get up between 5, 4 and 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And probably that's why they're so successful. There's some formula to that, which I don't know, which I heard for the first time on somebody's talk in YouTube, and looks like that's true. So, what doesn't make, which doesn't sink is that you'll do nothing much, or you'll really do gardening after you retire. That doesn't make.
No. So
It doesn't fit with your personality.
No, so I read and I write and I keep my interests alive and I travel. I'll keep traveling and I'll do my writings. I keep myself busy.
And how about being in Parliament? Everyone says you are going to be in Parliament.
No, I'm not cut out for politics.
That you say, no? since you keep going by all your gurus, then I'm sure somebody or the other will mentor and get you in politics sooner or later.
I'm not cut out.
Would you say no, you mean, if you were offered?
No, it's not in my destiny.
Oh, who says that?
Oh, I know it.
I mean, an astrologer or you?
No, I know. I'm not cut out for that.
But you could be a Rajya Sabha.
No. I'm happy the way I am.
Well, there's something you have in your stars that you've met, you've been in the limelight, you've met heads of state, you've been a policy maker, you've executed, you've got respect socially and politically. So, I don't know, let's see what the stars leave and foretell in the future. Okay, I'm going to have a small rapid fire and ask you a few questions. Would you prefer politics or economics?
I prefer economics any day.
Okay. Reading a book or being the CEO of Niti AOG?
Reading a book.
Oh,
I've done the CEO Niti Aayog already.
Okay. Meeting heads of state or playing golf?
Playing golf.
Oh, come on. I don't believe this at everything.
I've met
You've been there, done that. You don't want to see.
G20 times I've met them. So I'd rather play golf.
Okay. Do you believe in karma?
Well, in the sense I believe that there has to be a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd never succeed without hard work. So I believe in very relentless preparation. I believe in huge amount of hard work. Without hard work, there's no karma. Without hard work, there's no success.
Yes. Yeah. Private sector or public?
I've done public sector a lot. You know, the public sector gives you this huge potential to transform. The ability to do size and scale of transformation is enormous. So the extent of your job satisfaction is very, very high. But it has to be a mix of both. You know, I mean, there are unique things about private sector.
That's true. You can't just be black and white about it.
There has to be a great mix of both. I've worked very closely with the private sector, with all the top private sector people, and it's great qualities to learn from. I've greatly benefited by interacting with the private sector, entrepreneurs, CEOs, etc. They've greatly added value to me.
Pasta or biryani?
Well, I think I prefer biryani, but I eat
you are politically correct.
Yeah, yes. But I've cut down on.
You say no politics, but you're very politically correct.
I've cut down on, hugely cut down on rice and wheat now.
Okay, so then let me tell you, continental chicken or fish curry from Goa or Kerala?
No, I'd any day prefer fish moili from Kerala.
I knew you were going to be politically correct. Yeah. That's why I asked you that. Yeah. That was not in my plan to ask you that question, but I knew that. Yeah. One last question I forgot to ask you. What would you advise the youth of today? Which are the 5 sectors they should look towards? Well, besides artificial intelligence.
I think more than the sectors, it's very important to be a risk taker.
Yes.
Be very optimistic about India's future and be very courageous. Do your own homework about the sectors. Don't go by my advice. There are a lot of sectors which are going to grow and blossom.
But what would you feel?
Because every
your say means a lot.
Individuals, have their own aptitude, their own choices. And I don't want to say that go into this sector or that sector, but each one of them, you do your own preparation, be very bold, be very gutsy, be very courageous, but be very positive about whatever you do and do a lot of hard work, relentless preparation.
Okay. And being from a design interior background, if you had to design your home, would you prefer light colors or dark colors?
Well, I prefer light colors, but I use
mix and match.
I would use white, off-white, but I put a lot of colors to project it.
And would you like a classic or more contemporary style?
I prefer classic.
Yes, you seem that. Politically correct, classic person, policy maker, and the one and only Amitabh Kant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.